All right, so your athlete is in eighth grade and wants to play at the next level. So we've made the decision already in seventh grade that said that we want to play the sport at the next level. We've also started to do some sort of self-reflection and awareness and assessment to determine sort of where our gaps are and where we need to be. So in this particular age group, let's go right into summer. So at the summer part of going into eighth grade, your athlete should be competing at 14U. They should be in a space where they are developing both confidence and also growth in their sport. So there should be a mixture of tournaments that they're playing in, from tournaments that they're going to play and win, but also tournaments that they're going to play and maybe get their butts kicked a little bit. We need the healthy balance at this particular time because now we're testing an athlete's durability. We're testing an athlete's ability to overcome failure and have recovery. So this is the time that we're doing this in particular. When they get into the eighth grade, they're then going to be trying to figure out which sports they're going to start to spend more time on. And I would say around this time, they're athletes who play probably multiple sports. So they're navigating very early a time management process. So determining also in the time management process, priority building. So this is a great time for this. And I wouldn't suggest athletes pick one sport and stick to it at this point. I do want them to actually play the multiple sports. Okay. But what I do want them to know and decide is that if they decided on which schools or which sports they want to play, then our next best thing would be to now prioritize what that looks like in this particular age. Okay. So if your athlete is a soccer player, volleyball player, and also plays softball, there are some conflicting times that happen within travel ball, the other sports as well. And then how do we navigate what to do and what to decide where we're going to go? So if the decision has been made that I want to play softball specifically at the next level, then we always want to prioritize most things softball. Okay. This also requires you to be better in your communication with your coaches. So we're just developing all the skills from time management, priority building, and also communication at this phase. It's a really great time of the year for this particular athlete, or a time in their journey for this particular athlete. So, what I would suggest is if there is a main sport that they are interested in playing, that they would prioritize that over everything else. And I said that many times in the last 3 minutes, so excuse me, but here's how we do that. I would say if you could spend time with the team doing team stuff, especially tournaments and games, that's crucial. But remember that if only hurts your confidence if you're not prepared when you go into those moments. So if you decide that, okay, I'm going to invest a lot of time into the games and tournaments as priorities, but maybe not the practices, I wouldn't recommend it. But if I did, what I would tell you is that then that means that that athlete needs to be working on their own with coaches who are pushing that skill development. So if it's something that your athlete really wants to do in playing multiple sports, they need to make sure that they're also developing at this point as well as just playing in games. So this is a really crucial part of this process that I think a lot of families forget or don't have. And that is that they are prioritizing going to tournaments, and then all of a sudden they get to the tournaments and their athletes are not doing well, then they lack confidence, and it just creates a spiral. So if you're going to do this, again, have a coach that the athlete is working with outside of all their other schedules to ensure that they are getting the reps and development that they need at this particular time. So college camps, especially higher level college camps, and actually most college camps start their camps at eighth grade. So what does that mean? Like when we are advertising our camps, we usually say eighth grade through senior year. So this means that they are looking for athletes in the eighth grade that might have the potential to play at a further level. Okay. So this is why it's important for us to start this process early, because now you're recognizing that an athlete who can be seen by this coach 4 to 5 times is probably going to have a lot better opportunity or chances than an athlete who only gets to experience going to this camp once or twice. So once you realize that that's a school that they really want to go to, you will invest more of that over time. We'll talk about that later in the 10th and 11th grade videos, but I wanted to make sure that that was pointed out very clearly here right now. So during the actual school year, your athletes should still be able to play their sport in the fall, 14U travel ball, and most likely in the spring as well. So I love this time of year because they are developing so many skills at a high level at a very young age. So I really like that. So hopefully your athletes doing that. Some of your athletes might also be asked to now move up and play at the high school and the JV team. If that's the case and you think they are going to get better in that space, I would suggest you doing it. Okay, there's a difference between going to that space and getting better and going to that space just for the sake of saying that I've moved up to playing varsity as an eighth grader or JV as an or eighth grader. I hope that makes sense. So don't waste the time and energy to move up to high school if your athlete can get better in their travel ball experience over the high school experience, if that makes sense. So make sure you sort of do your due diligence in this process. Um, I think in the eighth grade year, this is really the time again to skill develop, right? To close the gap between where you are and where you want to be based on your assessment that you had in the seventh grade year. Okay. I would suggest also in the summer after your eighth grade year, you should still be playing 14U, but on a national level, right? You should be taking those trips to the Sparkler. You should be taking those trips to PGF, right? You should be taking those trips to Atlanta, wherever you're from, the major tournaments. Make sure you're attending those camps, or I'm sorry, those tournaments at that time. Because what we're doing now is not necessarily going there as an eighth grader playing 14U to get a coach's attention, but again, to now utilize the skills that I've developed over the last year, over my entire eighth grade year, to now see how they've progressed. Again, with athletes who play on a national level. So at this time, this is a really big time for that. I would also say, as a family, you should gauge if your athlete needs to stay in 14U after this or move up to 16U heading into their ninth grade year. That is something that I want you to gauge as a family based on the feedback that you've gotten from the national tournaments that they are now playing in. So again, this is an entire system of processes that we work through, but if you can start earlier, you're going to have much better success or feel more comfortable in this process than if you started this process in ninth grade or 10th grade or 11th grade. Okay. So it doesn't mean it's impossible when you get there. But again, these moments allow you to build on something so that when you get to those grades, you don't feel the pressure as much or the overwhelm as much. I think that is all for this particular age group. The biggest thing is, again, can I get to some of those local bigger camps for colleges? So the schools that are local to us, bigger and smaller, and just sort of get a feel for like that environment and what kind of draw those coaches bring in. And then what feedback am I getting from those coaches in those particular moments? Are they just sort of excited and happy that I'm there and they're kind of giving me that feedback? Are they giving me feedback like I need to work on something? Okay. Or are they saying, hey, this is a really good job and spending time with you saying, do this, do this, do this, because they truly believe that you probably have some skill that can be translated at a higher level. So that's sort of that process for this particular age group. I will be doing another video next, so make sure you follow that. Also, if you are new here, make sure you like and subscribe the channel. I want to make sure that I'm always providing the resources for you as a current coach at the college level. I want to give you the game and the resources. If you have any questions or you want to know more about my program, the 360 Athlete Elite Competitor Program, then make sure you follow me on Instagram and send me a DM with the word elite to 360_athlete. And we can talk more about how my program can specifically help your athlete become a recruitable athlete that gets more offers. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.